So let's alter this table to add a new column. Alter table, human resources. Human resources dot students. Okay, then students 1. So what are we adding? We're adding a column. Add what? We're adding a column. What should be the name of the column? Student details. Okay. Let's put balance. Balance. So the type of balance should be varchar. Should we use varchar? Okay, let's use integer. Int. So execute. So this is how you add a column to your table. I actually want to add another column. Alter table human resources dot students 1. Add which other column should we put? Reports should be equal to, should it be reports? Yes. Let me execute this table again. What should be equals to fees minus balance. Okay. Yeah, I think it should be reports should be equal to fees, right? Okay. Minus balance. Yeah. Oh, so I'm altering this table right now to accept a new column called this. So let me query this table and see what I have here. Select all from students 1. Oh Jesus. So you can see that we have our new columns that we've added here, right? Yes, we have our new column that we've added here. We have inserted a new column called balance, okay, which we're going to be passing in new values. We're going to be out of the what we also have another new column called fees. So now let's insert values into this column. Let's insert one value before we bind our rule, okay? Insert into the table name, human resources. So what are you inserting? Values. We call values out, open and close brackets. Then we start inserting reg number 1006, comma, name, followed by joker, and followed by course. Let's do geology, because we've not bind our rule, we can add anything. So let's add our Python or SQL. So let's do SQL, then comma, then gender should also be male, gender male, This is how you insert values. You have to follow the order of the table, followed by the address. Number 1, Kaduna Street, Kaduna. D-line, hot hackers. Okay, I think it's more than 25 characters. So and after that I should have balance. Balance should be fees is how much? Okay, there's no fees. Okay, balance, let's say 200,000, because there's no rule on it. 200,000, 1, 2, 3, comma. Then fees should be around 200 as well. This should be 215. Okay, so 50,000. Alright, 1, 2, 3. 51, 3, 1. Okay. So in deficit, in year 1 on, which value is that? Is this one not an identity column? I guess, is this an identity column? Okay, so please hold on, let me see. Oh, execute. Oh, I want to query this table. Where is the select statement? Okay, select all from human resources. Why am I having read line here? Execute. Invalid object's name. Where? Oh, but I don't think that's where the error is coming from. Oh, yours worked too. That's a nice one. Thank you. You're quite observant. Yeah. Alright, so it's worked. I'm actually trying to query this table and it's telling me that this table does not exist. Yeah. Resource. After you. Okay, I'm supposed to have our here. That's true. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. So I can see now. Maybe we should even off the light so I can see very well. Okay. So if you notice what's on this other column, you notice that what we have here is that what is on this column called the deficit is minus this from this. So should we try something else? If you notice I did not insert value for my deficit, true or false? So why? Because based on when I was adding a column, I said let this column called the deficit store a value. When you minus what is on the fees, minus balance on what is on the fees, let it be what will be on the deficit column. Do you understand what we did? And at the same point, at the same time, we're also adding a column. Do you understand? So that is it. So let's now activate our rule. True or false? So how do you activate your rule? For you to activate your rule, you use the SQL stored procedure to activate your rule. Okay? Use SP underscore. The SP stands for stored procedure. Okay? SP underscore bind rule. So now we are binding this rule to a table. Okay? Bind rule. What rule are we binding? Our rule name. Exam what? Exam score. Are we good? Exam course, not score, right? Course. So to the table. What's the table name again? Human resources. Resources dot students 1 then the column, open and close brackets, then I should have the column name here. Which column am I binding into? Course. Okay. SP underscore combined rule is this. So, invalid table name, human resources near the table. SP underscore combined rule, and the rule name. So please, to actually bind your rule, to activate the rule you created on this table, especially for this column called course, you do SP underscore bind rule. Then the rule name you created, you called it. Remember, at the point where we are creating it, we'll call it. We create a one, we'll give it a name called what? Exam score, right? Look up, please. Can you see the name? So you have to call that name of that rule. You put it in a string, okay? Comma. Then the table name you're creating the rule on. Do you get? Because the first time we create the rule will just be there. It won't be active. Okay, so you need to activate the rule by calling out the column name, then comma, put the name of the rule in a string. Then you put comma, then the next one is your table name, the table you're creating the rule on, which is on human resources students, right? Students 1, that's the name of the table that we are creating this rule on. Then dot course. The course here is the column that we are creating this rule for. Remember, please look up. You can see that here we create the rule to it will declare a variable for the rule that we are creating on the column called what? At course. Okay, so we are activating it that let this rule be bind to this column called course. Hello, because you actually bind a rule to a column. Okay, so now at this point, remember, even the name of your table alongside with the column name, okay, have to also be in a string. At that point, you can execute. So at this point, I've activated this rule. So the table name, the schema name dot the table name dot the column name. Hello, so you do SP underscore bind rule, put a string on the rule name, okay, comma, the schema name, which is the human resources, dot the table name dot the course name. Okay, remember I told you I will use dots to actually separate our schema from our table, right? Right? Yes, and same way we'll also use it to separate our table name from the column name. Do you get? So that's the same thing we did here. The schema name dot the students, the schema name dot the table name, then dot the course name. Okay, this is how you activate your rule. So at this point now, let's try to see how we can insert value into this table and see if we insert any other thing contrary to the rule we created, which is our SQL, Python, and logic, if it's going to accept. Okay, so how do you do that? So let's come back here and insert. Let me alter this table here. Let me change this value 1007. Then I want this one to be David, right? David. Then after David we'll have Ken. And after Ken, I want to pass a data or a value on this table into this column that is outside of the rule we have created. So who can give me a course name that is outside Python, logic, and SQL? Java. Thank you. Okay, so Java, who is this person? Is a male, number 1. So let me change this address to 22 Omokri Street. Okay, Omokri Street, the line, and this the price of Java is actually different, Abby. So let's put 250,000. Okay, and this person has paid about okay, so let me execute. I think I'm okay with these values. Execute. So are you saying it? A column insert is through an exception error that a column inserts or updates conflicts with the rule imposed by a what? The previous create statement. Are you understanding? I get what is happening. The previous create statement. So this statement was what? Terminated. And the conflict occurred in the database called what? What database are we? kind master, right? Okay, and he's also giving us a hint. The table is on what? Which table? Called human resources the students, and the column is on what? Column called what? Course. Do you get? So with this, you actually got a hint to know where your error is coming from. Do you understand? So at this point, you need to just go back and do what? And change your values. Okay, SQL is quite Microsoft SQL is quite friendly. That it's going to give you hints of where your error is coming from. So you can go back. So maybe I change this Java now. So let's say Python, for example. Okay, so let's execute again. Execute. Oh, sorry. So one role affected, right? So let's query this table and see what we have. So you can see. Do you get? So that is it. Any question on this? So remember, you can actually alter your table and insert values into this table, right? Or you can use update statements to update these other records that have no values. Okay? So create is what we use to activate any objects we are creating on the database. Okay? We use create. Then create what? What are we creating? Like if you're creating a table, you call the table name, right? If you're creating a database, you call database name, right? If you're creating anything at all, remember after the create statement, the object you're creating on the database is what you now call. Do you get? So create what? What are we creating? We are creating a rule. So we have rule here. What's the name of the rule? That's the name you want your rule to have. But that's what will be binding to that column. Do you get? Okay, so you do create rule, then the name of the rule should be what? We give our own exam course. Okay? Exams course. Then we want this exam score to be. After that, that's the next word, as this. You declare a variable for it, as, then the column you want that rule to be on, you put it at the back of what? The at symbol, which is it. So now at course in logic, Python, and SQL, meaning that these are my expressions. Let this course column only accept what? This expression called what? This column, these values or this data called logic, Python, and SQL. So anything outside of that don't accept. But had even have come here and I said not in, meaning that it should accept every other word, every other values, but outside words, Python, logic, and words and SQL. Do you get the point, guys? This is how it works. Okay, so at this point I'm done. So I highlight and do what? And execute. So at this point I'm done. I only come here, highlight from here, and do what? And execute. Okay, this rule is already created, so I cannot create it again. Remember, it's against the rule of SQL. When an object is already created, you cannot recreate that object again. Okay, that's the same rule. Just like your tables and your database, you can't recreate it again. So whenever you see this error message, there is already an object named this. That object you're trying to create. Note that you have actually created that object before. Okay, so you cannot recreate it again. Okay, so that is it. So after that, I actually went further to alter this table called human resources the students. And I'm adding a new column. So how do you add a new column to a table that is already created? Let's say, for example, at the point of creation, we never remember to add a column. Do you get? So we now want to like, oh, let's say we want to add another column called fees. You get? So how do you add such a column when you finish creating your table? You do alter table, the table name, add the name of the column you want to add, and the data type of the column. Are we good? So that's how you add a column. Okay? Then the next one is alter table again, human resource, the same table name, add deficit. So I want my deficit column to actually store values that will be as this. Let it minus whatever is on the fees column, minus it from the balance. Okay? Let's say, for example, that means you will be passing two values called value that will store on what? On the fees and what? And balance. Okay, that's what you only be inserting. And this deficit will only give us what? When you minus what you add here, you minus what you add here from here, right? You minus the balance from the fees and store it in the column called what? Deficit. So that means for deficit, I won't be inserting values. You get the point. Why? Because I've actually passed a control that let what will be on the deficit column be fees minus balance. Are we good? So the next one is select all from the table called human resource. I'm trying to query the whole table. Let me see if what I've actually added is correct. So that is what I have here. And the next one is called the insert statement. Insert into value. I'm trying to insert values into this table. Okay. So at first I added my first column and I have all this information inside. But if you look at this, you notice that on this other part of where I'm adding values, I never added any value for deficit. I only added for fees and balance. Okay, and at the end it ended up giving me values for deficit. Why? Because the deficit is already it's already should store what is on the fees on balance from the fees. Okay, are we good? So that's it. Any question? SP underscore bind rule is a system stored procedure. When you see SP, mean stored procedure. Okay, stored procedure means system stored procedure underscore bind rule. Okay, this system stored procedure actually help in the functionality of the system. All right, but we'll still be creating our own normal stored procedure, which is called user defined stored procedure. But this one we are using here is system stored procedure, which is SP. Now what are we doing? We're activating this system stored procedure underscore. Let it bind a rule. Okay, bind rule. Rule what? Which rule are we binding? You might have created so many rules on this database, but the exact rule you're actually trying to bind, okay, you're trying to use at that point. You're trying to activate, because this is used to activate your rule. Okay, the effectiveness of the rule. You call it by name, and that's where we have here the exam course is the rule we have created, true or false. So you call out the rule name, okay, and please remember to put it in the string. Once you forget to do this, you just be executing, it won't work. You get, okay? So remember to put it what? In a single quotes, okay? Because it's a string, exam course, comma, then the next, the table name. Now the next one is this. The table, the schema name first. If you're to be in another database and I'm not creating this rule, remember you have to put the database first. Let's, for example, I'm in a different database and I'm trying to create this rule. I'm trying to activate this rule for this table called students, which belongs to kind master. I am in a different database called mastermind. I have to call the table the database name. Okay? Yes, then I'll put dots, the schema name, dot the table name, then dot the column name. But since I am still on the same database, okay, so I don't need to do that. I'll just call the table name, the schema name first, human resources, dot the students one, dot the course. So at that point, remember to put all of them in a what? In a string, okay? Remember, the dot is just used to separate your schema from your table and also put your column from the table. It's just simple. And at that point, put all of them together in one string and execute. Are we good? So, like I said, we can use the we can use the rule, the create tool syntax with either the in, the between, and the and. Okay. So let's use the in, the between, and also the not in. So let's do, for example, create. Okay, we already have create here. Create rule, then the rule name. Let me give my rule name last name. Last. Name last. Okay, let me just give it this. Name last, then that's the name of my rule as. Then I want the name to actually store, as the arts. The arts. Which name? Last name, Abi. Last name column. I'm creating for the last name column. Do you get? The last name in. No, now I want to use not in so I can understand how this works. Not in. Then let me pass the name. Last name. Let it be Jerry. Do you have Jerry in this class? No. Okay, Jerry. Then followed by who again? Acho, you don't turn hero. Acho is now hero of the class. Okay. Then which other name again? So let me choose comma. Let me go for Hamilton. Hamilton. Okay. So
Sorry, why did you use the name last and then last name?
I'll explain. Okay, command successful. Alright. So what this means is I'm creating a row called name last as, and now I'm creating it on the column called last name. Okay, that's what I'm doing. So I have to bind this row to this column called last name. So do sp underscore bind rule, then the rule name, right? That's how we do it. The rule name, which is what? Name last. Okay, name last, then comma, the next one, which is the table name. Abi, the table name is human resources dot, next column name is students one dot, the column called what? Last name. Do you get? So I'm binding to this column. So immediately I do this, so I bind the row. So now if I want to insert value to this column and my last name, and end up putting what's his name, Hamilton, for example. Let's do Hamilton. Hamilton. Okay, so what this means is that let every other data be entered outside Jerry, Archer, and what, and Hamilton on the last name column. Do you get? So that's the rule. So let me change it, but this is a primary key column, so let me change this to 8. Then let's repeat this row of data. Let me change this to this. Oh, sorry, guys. Okay. Okay, so are you saying that the column inserts or updates conflicts with the rule imposed by the previous create rule statement? The statement is hereby terminated. The conflicts occurred in database kind master on table human resources students on which column called last name. So meaning that I actually added words on the name, last name Hamilton. The minute I change it to another name, this table, this record is going to be what? Inserted. So that's that. So let's look at how to create another rule with the like keyword. Okay, create rule, then the rule name, let me give it let me query this table and see. Create rule. This is serious. Okay, let me give it create rule on what? On fees. Fees. Okay. School fees, then as balance, then like. Okay. Oh, let's say okay. So let me do. Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, while in class here, can we see any of the placements that has to do with SQL and see how constructed it is?
Hold on,
What is
please.
placing and like the class
That's me. Please hold on. Okay, command successful. So what I did is I'm trying to create a rule that let the balance column accept what? Values that is either equals to or greater than 250,000. So anything outside that it shouldn't accept. Okay, these are various ways you can actually use the rule to actually implement some level of integrity into your database. Okay, now let's look at how to create a synonym. We use the create statements to create a synonym. Create, what are you creating? Database object called synonym. Then you give your synonym a name. Let's say, for example, the synonym name we want to actually create is synonym. The database object we want to actually create is, let's say, I want to create record. Record for a table. Dot students one. Students one. So you create a synonym for a table. So that's another name of a table. So now you can see my command executed successfully. So how do I query my synonym? You do select all from that synonym name. From what's the name of the synonym? Called what? Record. So instead of me querying this table called human resources dot students one, I just query this and it's going to give me everything, the same record. The same rule I created from that table called students will also work here. Okay, this is how to create a synonym, and this is just what it's all about. I can also still update records here. Do you understand? So let's try and see if we can update record on a synonym. Let's say updates what? Record. Okay, what are we updating? Updates record. Set set what? Balance. Set balance to be equal to 250,000, right? Where, remember, you use your update statement with the where clause. Where what? Reg number, reg number is equal to, well, we use the where clause to filter our data. True or false is equals to 1001. So one was affected. So let me query this again. So that means you can actually still update your record, even still delete records. So you can see we already have a record on our balance column. Do you get? So we use the synonym to do that. So you can actually update your record, insert new values, and do many other things. I think I'll stop here for today. If this video is actually meaningful to you, please like and subscribe and share. Thank you.